Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Alison Werner, and I am the Chief Editor of Orthodontic Products. As part of our continuing series, we are back again today to talk about how the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting orthodontic practices across the country. Today, I'm joined by Doctors Deborah New and Melanie Wang. Dr. New has her own private practice in Rochester, New York, and is part-time faculty at Eastman Institute of Oral Health at the University of Rochester, where she is an assistant professor. While Dr. Wang is in private practice in San Diego, California, and she recently opened her second office right as the crisis hit. Thank you both for being with me today. Let's get started. How is the COVID-19 pandemic affecting your practice? In a recent reader survey we conducted, approximately 75% of practices reported that they are closed. Now, this was a survey closed last week, so a lot more practices are there today. What's the status of your practice, and what is your state or county requiring right now?
Well, currently in New York State, because Governor Cuomo issued a mandate for only essential services to be provided, all dental offices are closed. And currently, the status of our office, we've been closed now. It's been a few weeks. And I still have my office manager coming in part-time, but we've pretty much furloughed all of our clinical staff at this point in the office. And at this point, I don't know, whenever they lift the mandate, hopefully we can go back to normal, but I don't think normal is going to be what it used to be a few weeks ago when we were still practicing. So, I think we should do everything we can to help stop the spread of this virus, especially knowing that it can be at, older people such as myself. I'm 60 plus. So I have a big concern. I don't want to get this virus, and I honestly don't want any of my patients or families of my patients to get the virus as well. Fortunately, because we are upstate in New York, we're not really as affected as people down in downstate in New York City. I have many colleagues down there, and I worry about them every day when I hear the stories, what's going on in the hospitals, and see the reports on the news. It's very frightening.
Yeah. How about you, Melanie?
So California right now, I'm pretty sure is similar to New York, where we have a stay-at-home order, which the governor is asking everybody to stay at home. But I'm not really sure the enforcement of that, and for essential businesses to be open. But according to what I read, dentistry is an essential business. But for the safety of our patients, employees, we are technically not physically in the office, but we are working remotely. I have my office manager answering calls remotely. And most of my staff is furloughed, but I have a few people coming in for a few hours. But yeah, for the most part, everybody is collecting unemployment. And even my office manager has reduced her hours as well.
Okay. So for the staff that you do have with you still, how are you managing them, or what tasks are you giving them to kind of do at this point?
Well, my office manager.
Go ahead.
You're first, so go ahead.
I was going to say, in my office, we're basically, the mandate is, right now it's till April 19th, but we have like a Facebook page, and I put on that Facebook page that if the appointment is in April, we're moving it to May.
Oh.
Biggest problem that I'm running into is where, because we have patients already scheduled in May, and before COVID-19, we would see multiple patients in the office, and we're an open-based system in our practice. I have one chair that does have a partition, but the rest of them are in a big bay. So I don't know where I'm going to put my patients, because we're trying to keep it one patient in the office at one time. We were trying to do that before the mandate hit, and then now that the mandate is in there permanently, well, for now, when we start back up, I'm thinking we should probably still see only one patient at a time going forward until the virus is out, but that may be months.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how I'm going to practice going forward. And this is going to be, unless I do something remotely. And so what I've been thinking, what we're going to try to do, and we already started doing this, is we're going to send all our patients who are in retainers or quick appliance checks. We're going to send them some instructions. We're sending them by email right now. Some of the patients we're calling the parents and telling them we're going to send them instructions. Some of them we're just sending them via email, depending on whether they will accept getting emails at home. And we're, telling them how to take pictures of their child's teeth or their teeth, depending on if it's an adult or a child, and send the pictures back to us. And then, like I was doing that this morning before I came on this call, looking at what we have so far have received. Now, we've never done this before. We've always been patients come in for their appointments. But so my aligner patients who are Invisalign, I have patients that are in retainers, patients that are in rapid palatal expanders, things like that, I can take a look at the pictures, and if the pictures are good enough, I can say, well, yeah, let's keep turning the key on their expander, or keep wearing your retainers, or maybe they're not wearing them enough. And just tell the patients, give them instructions via email or calling them on the phone and talking to them directly.
Yeah.
We're in our infancy. We're just starting to crawl with it because we've never done this before. Now all of a sudden we're having to do something different. It's a different way of looking at the patients. And I actually have pictures that I received from 2 new patients. Never met them. They sent me pictures of their teeth, which is great, and I'm excited. I want them to start in the practice, and I was just uploading them on our practice management software this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent an email to the father because he sent the pictures to us, and I told him, I said, well, you need to call us back. We do need to get started, but we can't start until the COVID-19 is done.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get started with these 2 children. But this is the first time I've ever done a new patient exam virtually, remotely. So it's new territory. For me, it's a little time consuming because they'll send me a picture on their phone, and it's too big to go up on our practice management software. So I'm cropping them and seeing, and some of the pictures are kind of fuzzy. They're not like what we would take here in the clinic because they're taking them off a phone. Camera phone, and they're just not this good of quality. So I think we'll probably eventually, when we get them in the office, we will take new pictures, but at least it's a starting point.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Melanie? How are you kind of managing patients, I guess, at this point, and what do you think it's going to look like for you?
So the thing with the assistants, the ones that I'm keeping on, they're still working on my in-house aligners right now. And as far as patients, I feel like my aligner patients, I found ways to keep them moving. And so we've been basically having people pick up their aligner boxes, just giving them all their aligner boxes. It's kind of nice because it's almost a decluttering, because we had kept their boxes down the road, and now we just looked at our cabinets and say, okay, let's just give this person all their aligners. And so we got some people progressing that way. And for the patients that are still in the Clarity ClinCheck, I've asked to have all the attachments either taken off, or not started, or keep the existing attachments. And we call them up and we deliver the same way, and we say, it's not the progress that we wanted, but it's still progress.
Okay.
So I feel like our aligner patients are still going on, and I can do a virtual exam or a virtual visit. And my whole thought was, when all this happened, I just started calling everybody. I mean, I just looked at the patient scheduled that day, and I would have them download Google Duo, and I just went for it, because I heard that HIPAA is more lenient now because of all of this, and we could do more virtual visits. And so I've been just looking at the schedule and knocking out as many Google Duo visits as I can. And in some cases, I'm able to push them out a bit, carrier checks, aligner checks, growth observations, those kinds of things. I'm able to, just push them out so I don't have such a big backlog of patients when I return. And, with the patients that I can't really progress, I just reassure them, and we'll get them in as soon as we can, that kind of thing. So,
do you think going forward that, because aligner cases are a little bit easier to handle virtually, honestly, do you think it's going to change how you approach treatment when it comes to aligners versus brackets?
Absolutely. So I thought of this idea in my head last night because I had about 6 patients that were ready to get their braces on. And, one dad that was upset that he couldn't get his daughter's braces on. And so, well, I thought, I have the scan. Why don't I just offer aligners, during this period? Because I could get that going. And, maybe it's like a free upgrade or something, just to like keep progress and keep them engaged. And that's the big thing, is keeping patients engaged, keeping staff engaged, even though they're not with me in my office. That is the main reason I'm like trying to get people progress with their treatment. And so my office manager called them up, and they were more than receptive. They thought, oh, they're stoked, they get aligners now instead of braces, and we'll see how that goes. And that also pushes them down the line as well.
Right. So. What about you, Deborah?
Well, I wish I had some scans that I could get started on. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like now I feel like I got to treat every patient instead of, because a lot of my friends are scanning patients at consults, and I was very skittish to do that, but I feel like maybe from now on I just treat everybody like they're already getting going and just make sure I have that scan, like not that this will happen again, but at least I have all their information now where I can go ahead. That's what I've learned like from this, is I'm going to definitely change my new patient system and fit in a scan somewhere.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah, we in the past we have done some scans, but in the recent past we didn't have any scans on any of our patients to offer that. But that certainly is a great idea. I like it, and certainly going forward we may start scanning everybody. And then if I do, if something like this happens again, which it, who knows, it could, then I would have that available to start treatment on them remotely, just with scans with no attachments. So I do think it's a great idea.
Melanie, are you using any kind of remote monitoring tool beyond the Google, or had you had something implemented before?
I'm looking into things. I have also I contacted a web designer, and he was laughing because I'm like, I'm a mess because I have 2 like websites right now that I need to combine, and I want to get that virtual consult button on my website ASAP. And so I've been working on getting some sort of a button like on my website, similar to, and I've talked to a few vendors. I think I know who I'm going to go with now with that. But I think it's really important during this age to make sure that everybody's engaged with their patients and have some way of getting their visit in remotely, for sure.
Well, you kind of alluded to it there, that you have 2 websites. I wanted to talk about the fact that we profiled you earlier this year, and in the profile we mentioned that you were about to open your 2nd location, and you just told me before we started this interview that your first day was basically the day that the order from California came to stay at home. So can you talk about the experience and what's going on?
Yeah, actually, I decided to close a little bit before he said the order, because the day that the schools decided to close, I decided to close because they were talking about lack of PPE and, how people would feel about coming in. And I don't think consults would be in the mood to talk about orthodontics necessarily. So, and also the safety of my patients and my employees as well. We saw like lots of patients a day, and the social distancing, it would be impossible to keep that going. So I decided to close both that day. Initially, like, of course I was really scared, but I was much more at peace when I started planning my whole cash flow and how I'm going to pay for everything. And, the weekend was really hard. It was the weekend before March 16th, where I thought I'm going to have to pay for all of this with what I have, and I'm going to have no production for probably, at the time I thought like 3 weeks. But then it was like, somebody out there is looking out for small businesses, because on Monday, my loan company that I have the loan with for the new practice was like, hey, if you want to defer for 90 days, we're happy to defer for you. Just give us a call. And my credit card, I called my credit card, they deferred, and everybody's been so great about deferring. And then there was news about that payroll protection loan that, finally passed. But it's going to be a little while before we get that. But just a lot of things, out there that made me feel a little bit more at ease where I could push everything aside. And then also when I talked to my accountant and he suggested to furlough everybody, that also helps with cash preservation as well. Because that was the first time I was like, I don't want to go under. I think that's everybody's biggest fear, especially with two offices.
Yeah.
But there's ways to work around that, and now there's some really sweet government loans that are, will be helpful also.
Yeah. What about you, Deborah? Are you having a big cash flow issue? Is that an issue for you, or are you looking at loans or anything like that?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of webinars that have been presented about what's going on with the CARES Act, and I actually did apply for the financial disaster loan, that the EIDL, and for the advance, the one where they have, you click on the one button and you give them your information, you'll get that $10,000 loan immediately. Have not heard back yet, but I do have confirmation number that was emailed, so they did receive it. So I don't know when that's gonna go forward. I did talk to the bank, and they just had got the information. They just had a meeting this yesterday, and the manager called me yesterday and told me that they were going to have more information later in the week. So I haven't actually initiated anything with the PPP loan that's coming through. But yes, it is something that's on my plate that I'm going to look into in the near future to supplement, payroll and keeping my staff employed. I know right now they're all furloughed or working part-time for me right now, and I've told everyone to apply for unemployment. Because the way I understand it, they're still going to be able to work part-time and still get some supplemental money from unemployment. Plus, I think they're going to all be getting that $600 weekly, I believe it is. I'm not really sure all the details.
Right.
And for me, it's been kind of confusing because I think a lot of the webinars I've attended have been saying, well, wait and take the PPP loan for the payroll. And yet I hear from the ADA that they want dentists to apply for the EIDL and get that upfront $10,000. So I'm kind of confused as to where to go with which direction at this point, and which direction to go for my practice. So I'm hoping we'll get some clarity in the next week.
Okay. Yeah, Wendy. Sorry.
So I was thinking back to when I actually closed my office and the point I am right now, and now that listening to Deborah, I remember when I closed my practice, my biggest worry by far was payroll and how I'm gonna, keep, protect my employees, because I was worried about them. And the decision to, put everybody, to make sure that everybody got UI, it definitely felt better that they were getting that $600 a week stimulus, because I know now that pretty much everybody is taken care of, because for my team, a lot of them would be making more, on UI for now. So that once I decided on that and I saw the $600 stimulus, I didn't have to worry too much about my staff and, them making ends meet. Because I thought, when I closed, I would have to maybe carry payroll for 8 weeks. And at that point, I was not going to be able to do that. But once all the UI information, the unemployment information came out, I felt so much better. And now it's just, dealing with loans and that stuff.
Where are you turning for most of your information when it comes to the financial resources?
Can you say that again?
Where are you turning to get information on the financial resources that are available to you? How is that information filtering through to you?
There's a lot of stuff on social media. I haven't really watched the webinars all that much, but my accountant has been absolutely amazing through all of this and so available. And he sends these really concise emails that seem to just hit it on the head. And I sent those emails to my friends, and they all agreed like it was just a great summary of everything available right now. Okay. And I'm just going by what he says because he's my advisor. Yeah. And I don't really question it at this point either. I'm like, all right, I'll just go with whatever you say.
Yeah. What about you, Deborah? You had mentioned the ADA and then, yeah, some of the news.
Well, like I said before, I applied for that EIDL loan, the immediate, the $10,000 grant. Yeah. And I'm going to just kind of wait and see where that heads because I haven't seen or heard anything yet about it. But I do know I listened to the AAO had a webinar last night that I listened to. And there was another company that also had a webinar on the CARES Act. And there's a few orthodontic financial companies out there that have had webinars. So I've been listening to those. And I'm kind of torn which way to go with the PPP versus the EIDL. But I'm just going to wait and see what happens and then probably contact my accountant and the bank where I have my practice financial stuff set up and find out which is the best way to go. Because the way I understand it, even if you get that $10,000, that can be rolled over into the PPP loan as well. And they just have to deduct that from the PPP you get.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the federal loans, the EIDL and the PPP, I'm definitely going for the PPP loan, and it sounds like your banker is going to be the one to give that to you. So we have a great relationship with US Bank. All of our home loans and everything is through them. Okay. So I emailed them and I said, we are your really good customers and please put us first on that list. And they're like, right. Okay, when you can apply for it, we will let you know. And as far as the EIDL, I'm just going to hold off on it for now. I feel like I will need it, but I don't really need that 10,000 grant right now, especially if it's going to be rolled over into the PPP anyway. So I'm going to probably apply for it just to have it, but I'm not in any rush. But definitely, I think every orthodontist out there with a small business needs to get the PPP and contact their banker that they have the best relationship to put them on the top of the list, because that's where you're going to get from.
Yeah. Okay. Looking ahead, we've talked a little bit about this. What are your greatest concerns? Looking down 2 months out or even a month out at this point.
I think keeping consistency with following our patients, that seems to be my biggest concern. I have a great team. I'm 100% sure that I'm not going to lose anybody. Because I know there's some worries that some employees may decide that they want to try something else. But I'm confident that my staff will all come back to work when we are able to go back to work.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're being covered through the CARES Act, that's important on the unemployment. But I just worry about where I'm going to put my patients because I'm very comfortable with my schedule, but like I said before, I'm like calling people up and trying to schedule people in, and to try to put 2 months worth of patients into 1 month, I just don't see it happening in my office.
Yeah. What about you?
I think that virtual appointments and consults are definitely here to stay, and the ones that I've tried have been going really, really well. So in some cases, to limit patients coming into the office, I'm not going to eliminate them. I think that even though the governor or the president may lift the whole, and say that we can go back to work, the social distancing is probably going to be a thing that lingers for a long time. So we're going to have to get really creative with how we space our patients, maybe every other chair. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm just thinking about how that will all play out.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be more, the laws about PPE for dentists might be a little bit more strict.
Yeah.
Like maybe especially with dentists, with aerosols, maybe having a vacuum or a filter somewhere nearby.
Mm.
And, and the thing that I'm going to miss is, especially for the next year, is my whole staff. We're huggers, and we love to love on people, hug on people. We have a coffee machine and we have cookies. And I was even thinking about getting a service dog for my really anxious and special needs patients, but now that's not happening this year for sure.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, I think everybody needs to realize that it's going to be a very gradual thing, and it's not going to be the same as what it was. And just getting back to normal, it's not going to be immediate. It's going to be very, very slow and gradual.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. I really would. Like I said, we had a Keurig machine out in our waiting room. That's gone. The games have been covered up, and what we're going to do in our waiting room. We used to have like magazines, things like that. They're gone, and maybe my waiting room will be shrinking. I'll just make it more office space for the front desk. I don't know what we're going to do going forward. At this point, I mean, the immediate future is that we're probably going to see one patient at a time and follow what we were doing before.
Yeah. Do you kind of envision the same, Melanie, in terms of patient scheduling, or possibly?
Yeah, it's not as much as we want to see everybody and get as much done as quickly as possible. It's going to be very gradual. And like I said, the social distancing, we're going to have to get really creative with that. And we may go down to a third of the normal load. And I think for us orthodontists too, we might have to put some long hours, Dr. New. I mean,
I was going to ask that.
I'm opening up on the weekends.
Days, because like get creative with staff, but I think we're going to have to, just to get through everything, work really long days. And like I said before, I'm glad that I'm able to keep seeing my aligner patients and do those virtually, and those can be pushed out, but it's still going to be a big jam, and we're all going to have to work more hours and more days in the beginning to accommodate everybody. Yeah, and also my patients too. Somebody brought up, the one patient a day. One of my patients is dead serious about that. Like, she doesn't want anybody here when I see her son, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we'll see. We'll see what we're forced to do. We might have to do that. I don't know, and that'll just take longer to get to everybody.
Yeah, I talked to one doctor who said he's thinking about actually having people wait in their cars until it's time for their appointment, and then calling them in and doing it that way.
Yeah, we actually have a sign on our door. When we open it back up, we are going to have them sit in their cars, call us from their cars on their phone. We have the sign up right now because we were doing that for any emergency patients.
Oh, okay.
And I actually bought one of those gun thermometers. So I thought maybe I'd hold that up.
I found one. I couldn't find one.
I was lucky I got on Amazon before.
Yeah, black market.
Unavailable. But we're doing that, having them wash their hands before they sit in a chair. Everything gets wiped down between every patient. So many changes in how we operate. And, I was thinking, well, it's distancing. We might be able to, in the open bay area, we have 3 chairs, and we measured how far apart they were. They are 6+ feet away between.
Oh, nice.
But still, I'm thinking I may only have 2 patients. We have like 3 chairs in the open bay area, and then we have a partition between the 4th chair. And I was thinking, well, maybe we could see 2 patients, but then have them on the 2 chairs furthest apart, and maybe doing it that way, at least initially. So, and hopefully we can gradually go back in. But I honestly I think we're going to have to put some more separation between the chairs. I think we're going to have to build walls, unfortunately.
Well, and it seems like a lot of that is also just patient reassurance, giving them, making them feel comfortable with the situation.
Yes. I think, I don't know, Melanie, if you heard this or not, but Andrea Cook, she's like a practice management consultant. She had several webinars, and, I've listened to those before in the past. And, there's a lot of things on there that she talks about, but I just think the way we operate, it may be more, it's going to change. I've heard from some of my friends on Facebook that OSHA's got some new guidelines that we may have to follow, and I don't know what those are exactly, but those filters in the air that we would have to maybe have in our offices may be a reality going forward. And I would hope they would allow us to, give us some guidelines, of course, first, but allow us to be able to see our patients in some manner, to keep, we want to protect ourselves and our patients, but also to be able to be a productive offices as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time to talk to me. I think your insight and experience will be of use to your peers who are navigating this crisis. And to you who are watching, thank you again for joining us. Be sure to check out orthodonticproductsonline.com for the latest orthodontic industry news. And until next time, take care and be safe.